Wow. It's here. It is the morning after Easter 2025.
We did it.
The morning after WrestleMania.
It is the morning after WrestleMania for all
I didn't watch WrestleMania.
I watched all of it.
You watched Saturday and Sunday.
Both nights. Stayed up till midnight
Is that
last night.
the joy of not having to preach on Easter Sunday? You get to watch WrestleMania on Saturday?
Yeah, man.
Frank, have you preached an Easter Sunday before?
Yes, I have.
You preached
In the past, yeah.
So you know the Easter feeling of preaching.
Yeah, of course.
Pressure of Easter.
It's just a different animal.
It is. I think I am fortunate in that the first Sunday I was ever the primary communicator was I knew it would be my only Easter preaching at that church, and it was probably the biggest Easter Easter Sunday I will ever preach, because it was 3 services. It was close to 1,000 people. And I'm like, do you know what? I'm good. I can go to my church and not be that weird guy obsessed with things being bigger and better every year, because here in Safety Harbor, that's not how it works, Tim.
Not so much.
Lakeview Land, a little bit different. We got a lot to say. We got a lot to talk about. So let's dive in. Yesterday was Sunday.
And this is the morning after.
Welcome to the Morning After Ministry Show, a caffeine-fueled look back on the week and ministry that was.
Well, we're here. We're alive. I'm surprisingly not as tired as I thought I would be. Andy's wondering what we did to the Pope. That was not us.
It was our vice president.
Wow.
Allegedly.
What are you talking about? Chill out. These are big accusations. I know it happened, and I know it's a big accusation, though.
I don't think that our vice president... I'm just saying, I went to bed last night, and all of the stories were... J.D. Vance met with the Pope and it did not go well. I'm wondering.
And then you woke up this morning.
And I woke up this morning and it was the Pope is dead. So I'm wondering if maybe the Pope didn't offer him a special blessing because the Pope was like, oh, I don't feel good. I might be dead soon.
That's
I
possible.
need to leave. Or if he was just really angry. I don't know.
Andrew, I didn't.
It wasn't me. I was here in Florida. I have not left Pinellas County. I did not travel to the Vatican.
I haven't shared this with you yet, but I tried something different this year on Easter Sunday.
You didn't wear the matching suit.
That's true.
Okay.
I didn't do that, but there's something else that I was actually going to talk about in the last podcast and forgot. So my Sunday routine does not involve a lot of calories until after I'm done preaching, and that's just I don't know why. It's been my routine for a long, long time. This year I decided to mix it up, and I intentionally ate almost a full meal in between every service.
Were there hash browns?
There were egg bites, and there were lots of things. Our worship leader, Sarah, she was like, hey, I'm going to get a bunch of snacks, make sure everybody has plenty of food. So I intentionally basically carbo-loaded before each service, and I was like, oh, so this is what it feels like to have real energy.
To have energy. See, I'm
wondering is that what I need to be doing? Because we do 3 services every week, and I've been, by the 3rd service, sometimes I'm a little tired, and I'm wondering, is that the answer? Do I just need to have more food intake?
I was offered an apple cider donut before service.
I ate a donut.
And I said, you know what? I really don't eat typically before service on Sunday morning. And I turned it down.
John Mark Comer has a series that you love because you get ads for it called The Art of Teaching.
I have no issue with it. It's the ads. If the ads were from people on the series, that'd be one thing. But it's random people who are not in vocational ministry saying, hey, pastors, use this promo code to get this teaching series.
But in the series, there's an episode, there's a class, if you will, where he talks about what you do before you preach. And one thing he does is he eats a banana and eats toast before every Sunday morning sermon, because you get the carbs from the toast, and you get the energy, the electrolytes from the bananas, which is better than getting it from salt. So the potassium.
Frank, I like it. I think I'm going to try that next week.
Yeah, I would maybe eat some protein.
I have black coffee.
I will.
Some breath mints.
I have tried
but black coffee in my system.
I have tried the protein shakes before. The pure protein doesn't technically give you a whole lot of energy right off the bat. Like the energy is coming from other sources. So the protein's nice. It feels a little filling, but it doesn't really give you the energy source. But I like the toast and bananas maybe with the protein shake. That'd be kind of a nice combo. Stephanie says food gives you energy. That's crazy. Who would have thought? That's a great take. That's how we're talking about it this morning. Zach says, I feel like I'm either in trouble or about to be ordained.
Based on the table setting, listen. Guys, I got outvoted. I know it kind of looks like you're at a review.
It does feel like that.
No,
We've been meaning to talk to you.
I like the vibe here. City Lights Church. Hey, if you're up in the Scranton, PA
Thank
area.
goodness we're back on YouTube. I don't want to have to actually say your name.
Sorry about that, City Lights. They had an amazing warm east, 55 degrees. That's pretty warm. I mean, ours was mid 70s at sunrise.
Was it windy for you guys at sunrise?
Was not windy.
Oh, because
No.
we were. So they're on a lake, hence Lakeview.
Yep.
We are on a harbor, hence Safety Harbor.
Yep.
And boy, right on the waterfront, it was so breezy. It was not my turn to preach. It was Dan Harrington at Countryside Baptist.
So you just got to hang out.
I did the call to worship, and then I sat down and I made the joke, like, all right, guys, see you next year. He was preaching from his Bible, and the rustling of Bible pages is like all you could hear several times. It was so windy, and his Bible was just whipping in the wind.
CJ says, I down a Red Bull. Okay, I have tried this before. It's one of our former congregants who moved. He would routinely bring Monster energy drinks, and sometimes he'd just bring me one.
Remember that.
And when he would bring me one for the second or third service, I remember like going off the wall, like trying to.
If you're gonna drink an energy drink on Sunday morning, you should do like a Celsius, something that has a little bit less sugar.
I mean, Frank, he's a big proponent of this. Frank, you actually have a throat coat tea that you will take on stage with you, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it's called throat coat. It's the stuff you get in Target. Like I learned about it a couple years ago from a white speaker, and like I don't like tea at all, but that with a little bit of honey, man. And I have a really good thermos that stays warm for hours, and so I'm able to sip on that, and it just helps my throat.
Did you bring a beverage up to the pulpit with you before being at Lakeview? Because I know Tim always brings his water up with him.
Yeah,
I have a beverage.
but Tim looks like it's like a brand endorsement for like the Jaguars or
See,
something.
when you say throat coat, I'm wondering, should I just bring a Safety Harbor Church mug up?
You have
on my stool?
the round table.
I have the
set
round
up,
table,
so it would work for you.
I could have.
Yeah.
You could have the tea up there.
We don't have that space available on the pulpit, so our drinks have to go
on the floor
next to us, which is a little awkward if you have to take a swig of something. I did do the throat coat about a month ago. I had an incident at the early service where my voice gave out. So then Sarah, our worship leader, actually made me a throat coat tea for the next service, and it was miraculous. Like I could tell an immediate difference.
I keep the cup on the floor and next to me. I rarely drink during the service. I have to really be dying on
Me too.
stage.
I will. Yeah, it'll be obvious if I need. Like I'll have tears running out of my eyes if I have to take a swig of something while I'm preaching.
Same.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I've been doing it for years. I used to just do bottles of water. I got really insecure because at Epicos for years the bottles they had were the mini bottles, and so being a big guy with a mini bottles is like a weird optical illusion that I didn't want people to keep questioning.
They look very, very tight.
So I started a friend of mine who worked at Milwaukee Tool. Milwaukee Tool has all these like auxiliary products that aren't just tools, and they have this really good red thermos that like lasts for hours. And so I use that, and that's what I've been using for years. And
CJ says
like
my wife wants me to go throat coat when I preach. Allergies are awful. I've had some horrible cotton mouth. CJ, I'm with you. That's what happened to me last month. Christian says, morning, I'll drink throat coat and water when I'm leading. Typically only coffee. The only coffee I have early in the morning before I leave, then after services are wrapped up.
I will drink. We have coffee in our worship center.
Yep.
And so once the first song starts, I will usually get about a half a cup of black coffee and down it before the sermon. And then I will get the dregs because they unplug the coffee urns during the sermon so that you're not burning coffee.
Yep.
And so then I will come and like get the dregs of whatever's left in the regular coffee between sermon and benediction. But last week, I went to sip it and my lid wasn't on right, and I dumped. And I was wearing like a light colored shirt.
That's the worst. That is the worst.
But it was Palm Sunday. So like, hey, a lot can change in a short amount of time.
There you go.
So when I'm saying a lot can change in a short amount of time,
as you can see,
that's good.
Andrew wore his prop that week.
I wore. We were just talking about sermon props and practically pastoring, but I dumped a cup of coffee all over the front of my shirt last Sunday.
City Lights, I think this is a good take. We kind of all have a similar feel here. He says, I stopped drinking during sermons. It was awkward to figure out when to drink. That's the worst part. Like, there's never like, okay, now I'm going to take a 6-second pause to have a swig of water, unless you just make it known.
There are some guys who do it really well.
Yeah.
Like
it's supernatural.
And I think I could pull it off sitting on the stool with the round table anyway.
You can. You can. Steph says, no energy drinks. They will kill you. Your heart can't take it. Literally, my heart feels different when I drink.
Have you heard what they say about people's blood who drink a lot of energy drinks? Their blood is sticky.
Ew. Well, you know what, Stephanie? Through Christ, I can do all things.
Sarah, our worship leader at Lakeview, says, we keep a stash of throat coat at Lakeview for any pastors or vocalists who need it. And boy, does that come in handy. Thank you for that, Sarah. Also, huge shout out to Sarah on the snacks. I'm just telling you, that made a huge difference on my Easter Sunday yesterday. Speaking of Easter Sunday, Andrew, we want to hear it. How did everything go here at Safety Harbor? For all things Easter? It's always an interesting time for you because your parking situation is tricky.
Yes, we have, I think, 24 non-handicapped spots and 2 handicapped spots or something. We have right around 25 parking spots in our lot total.
Which means you are limited.
Which means we're limited. I was so excited because I was at the sunrise service. Also, the way we do our sunrise service is unique, I think. We partner with all of the other downtown Safety Harbor churches.
That's cool.
And so it's not a us service. It is a community service. The offering goes to our neighborhood food bank, which is just about a block and a half away from here. Mm-hmm. But so I got here an hour earlier to the church building than I typically do on a Sunday morning. So I got one of the spots that usually the Market on Main Street people get.
Nice.
And I was like, ha ha ha, I know we have other street parking reserved specifically for us, but I can take a vendor's spot.
Yeah, that's sweet.
And so I parked right in front of that pink building.
Love it.
Just so that nobody else could.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know where everybody parked because it was packed and we had way more people than we have parking spots for. So I think people found street parking.
And you didn't even like golf cart.
Yeah, but last year we had rented a golf cart and it just didn't turn out well because we had rented the lot from the elementary school and then the maintenance guy had an issue and couldn't get there. And so we were trying to get people back and forth. And it was fun to play on the golf cart, but it just didn't make sense to try it again this year. And we had more people than we did last year when we were trying to pull out all the stops and do all the things. So maybe the moral of the story is let people figure out where to park on their own. It's Easter. They know it's going to be busy, so they'll be fine.
You don't have the massive parking lots. You don't need the parking team, which is
really nice. But you know what? We did have to have an egg team.
Ooh, you guys do a fun egg hunt on Easter.
We do the egg hunt after service, and I am convinced that there are people that come because they know the egg hunt is going to be the best bang for your buck for your kids. I don't know if you've ever done one of the big helicopter egg drops or some of the bigger churches in town do the crazy things.
Yes.
Where your kid, there was a helicopter or a fire truck, but they walked by with like 6 or 7 eggs. We have, I don't remember exactly what our attendance numbers were. I want to say 30 or 35 kids yesterday. We had 1,100 eggs. So
I bet they were happy about that.
So we had more than 30 eggs per kid.
That's great.
That's a good ratio.
The kids are loving life.
It was ridiculous.
Do you guys do candy or toys and eggs? We did not do candy this year.
I'm loving the fact that so many of what we do is, and I was explaining to a family that it was their first time when I first got here. And we were a smaller church. They were struggling to get any kids. And so we have older people in our church that are so excited that we now have so many young families that about a month before Easter, I start to say, hey, we want prepackaged eggs. We don't, and they just show up. So we did 500 eggs on Thursday for the preschool, which was 10 eggs per kid for the preschool kids. And then we had 1,100 more yesterday. And I know that because I knew how many eggs we had out, and then a couple people showed up with a few hundred more eggs. And so we had a couple of our young adults at the beginning of the sermon back out hiding eggs. Like, you guys can't see them, but here in the bushes and stuff.
Sure.
So there were people hiding eggs during the sermon because people showed up with more eggs. And so I got to say, hey, we just upped the age limit on how old you can be to participate in the egg hunt. I think people come, no one comes to hear me preach. I can't blame them for that. But they come because they know, hey, there's...
Well, now that they hear your person to egg ratio, you're going to have
Yeah.
to up the eggs because it's going to be a giant crowd next year.
But we had some, and I have no idea who they're from. They sent me, they were an Amazon delivered to me personally, but at the church, so in my name, and they were like the little light up LED rings in eggs, so that, you know, bunnies and eggs and whatnot. And then there are these things, I didn't know what they were. They're like little mini projectors with you push the button and it projects a Happy Easter thing. It's kind of like the things that go on your garage door around Christmas time.
Yes.
A little mini version of that in an egg to shine. And yeah, our kids went away very, very happy.
Steph says, speaking of parking, this is great. I feel like Lakeview's parking team may have a little too much power. I don't think they liked the way Stephanie parked yesterday, so they made her back up and repark. She was not happy about
Did she
this.
say, "Do you know who I am"?
She did to me.
Do you know who I am?
The pastor's
you know-
I am First Lady
Do you know-
Stephanie Miller.
I've
Do
had
you
to
know who I'm
repark.
sleeping with?
I will say,
That's funny.
I
That's great stuff.
I mean, I don't know if this is appropriate to talk about on the show.
It is.
It might be
We're going
confidential.
This is the morning after.
But there
We're going
is
for it. It's
there
always
there is the security team, the safety team,
Safety team, not a
Safety team.
and the
security
parking team is more serious than Disney.
Oh, all right.
Always.
Do they get along? Are they Jets and Sharks? Like,
mean,
we're the
that's-
parking team.
They
Oh,
have to be.
yeah?
It's
We're the safety, and they like hate each other.
No.
'Cause that would be great.
There's some crossover, actually.
there is crossover. I'm not saying there's beef with each other. I'm saying they're more serious, as in like
They take their jobs. very
Tim
seriously.
is more secure than the guy who plays the Mandalorian in Hollywood studios. Like
There you go.
they're surrounding him and they're making sure no toddler steals Grogu. You know what I'm saying?
I'm with
and
you.
then when it comes to the parking lot, like I was just at the transportation and ticket center, and that 18-year-old did not care where I parked, but they care at
At
Lakeview.
Lakeview, you
They
will
care.
park where you are told to park.
It's a similar parking structure, right? Two cars in one lane. Like, it's just like Disney
You
World.
kind of have to, otherwise
so
we don't get
cool.
enough cars
It's
in there.
awesome.
So speaking of the Lakeview parking lot, that was just repaved.
Looks great.
Our children's director here, her husband owns a paving company, and you guys had gotten a bid. And I was like, that seems high, and I gave you his
Yep.
number, but then you handed it off to the facilities guy.
So I had no idea who we went with.
And he said to me on Easter, because he does a lot of parking lots on Sunday, "Hey, thanks a lot for sending me, your buddy's church up at Lakeview."
Awesome.
And I had said, I honestly had no idea
Yeah.
that it was.
You're like, you're welcome.
Well, but it was really cool because I got to say, like, hey, you saved them like a staff member's salary. So
Mm-hmm. It was a significant amount of money
yeah,
in savings.
It was a really cool.
And not
thing.
only that, it held. Like we withheld, I think, 10% of payment as part of the contract
Yeah.
until we had two major storms come through to see
Yeah.
if it held off, and it did. So like they didn't just save us money; they actually did a phenomenal job too,
I
which
love
is
it.
which is great.
I love it.
They released the money eventually. They didn't just keep it.
We did, and then
Yeah.
we finished off the
Technically,
payment.
he did the striping. Somebody else did. It's a whole thing. It's
Yes.
an industry.
It was a wild week for us at Lakeview Land. We had our prayer walk on Thursday. What is going on here?
Sorry, CJ. That's really funny.
Says, can you pay for closer parking at Lakeview? Oh, like a VIP. This is an interesting bit because my wife always makes me pay for VIP parking at the
What?
parks if we stay off-site.
What? First of all, CJ, you guys need to coordinate with us because as pass holders, we get free parking. But
Which means you also get cheap VIP parking.
Yeah,
which is awesome. You've never done it?
I've never done VIP.
Wait.
I'm
Wait. For Disney,
Yeah.
VIP is cheaper
You're
as a
go-
pass holder?
Yes.
You're going to be walking 13 miles in the
We
park.
don't
What's an
do
extra
it.
200 yards in the
I didn't know
parking
that.
lot?
Unless it's terrible. Like if it's a terrible day, we'll just spend the 20
If you're
bucks.
parked in Captain Hook, 318.
Okay, no one cares about this
Okay.
Disney. That's
No
a
one
different podcast.
cares.
I care
No
deeply.
one cares. Here's the deal. It was a wild week at Lakeview. We had it's funny because we do an egg hunt. It's a little different. We do
It's on Good Friday.
do it during our Good Friday service. I don't know if anybody else can
So
see
the
it.
adults are super somber.
Like they're looking at,
They're crying, and their kids like, I got a Reese's.
and I'm looking out and
It's
I'm
an
watching
eraser.
like the kids have a blast while I'm trying to stay like locked into this. And Frank, you were there. It's a very heavy sermon, obviously much heavier than any Sunday would be. And I'm looking out and seeing the kids frolicking across, the land of Lakeview. I don't know. It's an interesting time to do our egg hunt. Frank, would you recommend we do it a different time?
I think it's a weird vibe on Good Friday, and because there's windows all around, you can see the kids just running around out there. I don't know. I don't know.
I'm not against it, but I'm open to ideas.
Tim,
if the Good Friday vibe is weird.
Here's my point. You made a comment in a group chat of our staff. The youth ministry is selling lilies for Sunday morning, and they were going to put the Easter lilies on the stage before Good Friday.
Right.
And you were like, we don't put Easter lilies on a Good Friday service. That's kind of like not the vibe we're trying to do.
So
It doesn't make sense.
Easter eggs on a Good Friday?
Right. So then the argument is, well, why do kids get to...
Yeah.
Because the kids can be pagan.
Wes Huff disproved that. He said that it's not pagan to do Easter eggs.
I know.
So,
Thank goodness.
because I really wanted to
I
do it.
love
But
me some
it
eggs.
is nice coming to... We try to have a very basic setup on Good Friday, and then you have the Easter lilies or whatever plant you have on Easter.
Yeah.
And it's like a nice
Yeah.
change in that little window.
Easter eggs are fun. We don't talk about that anymore. Okay. There's the VIP stuff is interesting.
He's our boss. I'm practically pastoring. He likes to show up on this one and think he's in charge.
There is no
almost 300 episodes without you, Frank. We'll be fine.
There's no VIP parking at Lakeview Church,
don't have
but
Especially for the pastor's wife.
but
Or
there,
pastor parking.
there is reserved seats in the sanctuary.
Yes.
But there's actually some movements lately because of some security issues.
For the first time ever, we now have assigned seating, as in the
Pat-
entire Miller family.
Yeah, me too. Me and my wife have a specific place to sit now in the sanctuary for security reasons.
Not that slow, CJ.
And
Are you on the opposite side of me?
I'm right behind you actually. In the sanctuary.
So that if there's a shooter, I'll have to get through Frank to get to Tim.
No, if they line it up right, they can do 2 for 1.
One
No.
shot. Wow.
No, but also the security team or safety team walk. The first thing that happened, it was so weird. They walk us to our cars after church.
Right.
So I mean, that's awesome.
And Steph and I are in different vehicles, so I have one walker and they have another walker, and they get my kids like they started puffing up their chests a little bit because they're like, I mean, this is my escort to the car. I don't know if they like do it as a joke.
What's going to happen when Emily starts driving?
If we have 3 cars,
Yeah.
I guarantee you, then there will be 3 escorts walking us to our cars to make sure. It cracks me up. So if I get stopped by someone to talk, the safety personnel just waits. And like they are not allowed to leave until I get in my car. So I feel bad because I know they're like waiting on me to get in my car. Sarah, yes, she says, and I find it funny when you're told to take a day off after Easter, but you still have to prep for the following Sunday.
Yeah, it's almost like Sunday happens every 7 days no matter what we do.
Yeah.
I mean, you could be a horrible church who's like, hey, we're not going to worship this Sunday between Christmas and New Year's.
Sure. Sarah, good point. Sunday's always coming. Like, do we really?
Do you remember when you here's a video? Don't come to church.
That was a long time ago.
No, it wasn't.
You guys did that on
we didn't.
You did it on the 4th of July one year, and I was like smacking you.
No, we didn't.
Yes, you did.
That
you
is
did
a lie.
You did.
We
You did-
do work. We do a
You
shorter
didn't come
service.
home. You did a video. I was like, it was the middle of summer. I'm like, what are
not
you?
true.
I will pull up the footage. Andrew.
Good luck.
Adam says Lakeview Secret Service. CJ says the rise and fall of Lakeview Church. It's going to be a great podcast. It's going to be amazing. We had look.
I would totally get interviewed on that podcast.
What would it?
You would be like the feature interview.
I can't wait.
What are we gonna talk about?
Look, Sunday morning at Lakeview, we had a blast. Easter Sunday. If you have not seen the photos, we have a phenomenal sunrise service.
Record Sunday morning.
It was.
Record.
One of our elders just did a little infograph for the elders. I sent it over to you, Frank. It was kind of like the Easter trend over the last 5 or 6 years. So it's really interesting to watch kind of those trends. There was actually a 2 or 3 year period where it was basically very incremental growth, and then all of a sudden it didn't just grow. There was this explosion. And people often say, you
That's
can't.
why the safety team is now there because of the explosion.
People say, like, don't base your, Sunday attendance on one service, and I agree with that. However, if you've been at a church for a number of years, you probably should look at the trends because
Year
they
over year.
do tell a story. Because now, what was our Easter service, it looks like it was in 24, is our regular attendance now in 25. Close to that. Maybe it was 23. So I think there is a story to be told looking at the history of your Easter attendance, but I would say you can't just gauge everything on one Sunday.
I don't know. Did you see James's video yesterday? James, I watched your video.
He says wanted to share, but Transformer Blue. We had no power after the first song. I gave my message in the complete dark. That is wild. On Easter Sunday.
Only on Easter would that happen.
That is crazy.
And you know what?
Where was that at?
That was in Brandon.
Wow.
So not too far from here.
Wow.
I mean, probably closer to you, maybe?
City Lights, we actually have a contact for you. I'm going to send you his number because he will. I will ask him to help free of charge here.
Ooh.
There have been 2 shootings. Actually, it'll be on Lakeview's dime if we have to do this. There have been 2 shootings 500 feet from our church, and I still have no safety team. We work with an organization who I would consider to be the premier church safety organization.
The best there is.
They're awesome. We'd be happy to help in whatever way we can, and maybe even get some training for your people. There will be a DM incoming City Lights Church because that's unacceptable.
Jim Howard, he is fantastic.
After our glorious sunrise service yesterday, we then had 2 indoor services, which I'm always a little nervous about on Easter because we're capped. We can't really bring in a whole lot of chairs. We've already maxed out the space. Thankfully, our 9 a.m. was just perfect. It wasn't overcrowded. You've had a little bit of room to breathe. But then 11 o'clock happened, and I saw the sheer panic on our ushers' faces. And then I saw the microphone, the walkie-talkies going, and that's when the overflow chairs started flooding into the room because 10 minutes into the service, we were actually the front row. When the front row is full, then there's no other seats. So there was not a single available seat 10 minutes into the service, and you've always got the late crowd walking in.
I felt bad because we had a young family come in, and they had to get in the front row because it was the only place there was.
Yep.
But then right after they got settled, all of our kids went to our kids program because we start with our kids.
Then it opened up a
in
little bit of
service,
space.
And we had
Why don't you have the kids sit up front?
Because they're sitting with their families. It's a conscious thing. We want families worshiping together. So the first several songs, the families are together, and then we dismiss the kids from there.
CJ says, Tim, did you leave all the sunrise seating set up during service? No. We have an hour in between services, so our production team asked if they could do a complete breakdown in between services. They said if we're not done 10 minutes prior to start time of second service, we will stop. They were done with about 12 minutes to spare. The entire breakdown of the sunrise service. So that was awesome for sure.
Because there's nothing worse than having the day be done and then having a job
tear
to
down.
do.
Yeah.
Ugh.
No, that's
awful.
That was no fun. As much fun as a full room is, I will say as a pastor, it gives me a little bit of anxiety thinking that you're walking into a room and you don't have a seat for your family.
Yeah.
I actually don't like that. I would prefer there to be a little bit of space. I know it's exciting for the photos, but if I'm a new family walking into a church, I don't want to have that pressure of, are we going to split up?
We had a family, and because we have a glass back of our room here, so I can see people coming in. And so there was a dad came in and had 2 kids in a double stroller outside and went back out and said, let's just be out here because we have the TV and stuff out there. So fortunately, that worked out well, and it was comfortable for them. It was a beautiful morning, so they could sit outside. But he came in, took a look around, and then was like, oh, we're going to stay outside. I was like, oh.
That hurts a little bit, right?
It does.
That's a little bit of a sting.
You wanted to come in, but also,
it's a little stinger.
thank goodness we have the outdoor thing.
Matt says, my old Lutheran church called all kids to the front. Oh, this is classic.
Oh, yeah.
We called this the children's moment
children's
growing up.
Moment, or the
you bring the
children's
kids up,
message.
they'd sit on the floor or the steps. The pastor would give a little sermonette to them.
Yeah.
It was cute and sweet until it wasn't.
Yeah.
It served its purpose.
Yeah.
I think there was a time in the church where this was kind of a cool thing to do. If you were to try this today,
I know of several churches that still do it today.
How a legitimate safety team could possibly allow children to be escorted out of it. That as a parent of young kids, we have many parents who are very thankful. We have roaming guards who just kind of keep an eye on our kids' ministry areas because of,
I get that.
the uncertainty in our time right now.
I completely get that.
So I think there can be a time and place for it, but also you have to be safe, right? There's got to be some wisdom here.
I agree.
Too. Frank, walk us through your first Easter at Lakeview. You did something kind of unique, which I thought was super cool with the interview video. So tell us about that, and then just tell us a little bit about your first Easter outside of Epicos in a while.
Also, is it weird that this is your church, but it's not going to be your church long term? Is that in general? That's not a normal thing that people get to do. You're either
it's kind of a cool season.
it's a cool season, but it's definitely a unique season.
Yeah. I feel like somewhere in between an associate pastor and a church consultant. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I would agree with that.
Because I can give a lot of opinions, and whether or not we do them as a church,
It's not going to impact you because you won't be there 2 years from now.
To an extent. I mean, it's been fun though, because I feel like in the most positive way, not in a critical way, I get to help like punch up all the good stuff that's already happening at Lakeview. So like, there's a bunch of ideas I have for next year's Easter that I think will make it better, because I'll stand by this. Like this year's Easter services were great. Like there were 500 chairs that we rented for the outdoor service, and we had to pull up. I'd be like another. I mean, there was for sure 525 plus people that were at the outdoor service, so we need to add like more chairs. But yeah, I mean, I've never done an outdoor service. I mean, when they said sunrise service, it was legitimately a sunrise service because the sun was in my eyes the entire service because of the way it was positioned. But it was very beautiful. Like when the service first started, the sky was really a pretty color, and there's something really epic. I have trepidation with all outdoor events because of the weather and stuff like that. It was a perfect day. Like Tim wore like a suit jacket or a sports coat or something, and like it made sense. It was like low 70s. It was really good. Other than that, like, man, people at Lakeview are super sweet. I love it. They're super kind. What he's talking about was we did an interview. I did a thing that I wanted to do for Lakeview and also for the new church that I'm going to be launching next year. And I made this thing where I just surveyed as many people who are willing, asking them the question, what does Easter mean to you or mean for you? And it was really cool. I just got to do like a run and gun with the camera and a microphone and ask people the question, and they gave me their answers. And I would say it took like an hour of editing afterwards, and it's up on Lakeview's Instagram and Facebook, I think. And it was a cool opportunity to I wanted to capture the diversity of Lakeview and have this like kind of cool moment of like people talking about what Easter is, and everyone looks good. Everyone's all like their best outfit. Kids looking super cute, families looking great, and it was fun. So I really enjoyed Lakeview services. It was different. Coming from the church I came from. Yeah.
Did you guys do more of a production on Easter at Ethicos?
We would never
just bigger.
We would never get featured on like Pastors with Props. Sure. I'll tell you that much. But this would be a Sunday where we would have like a celloist come in,
sure,
or like a violinist, or a trumpet player. You know what I'm saying? Like there would be maybe some added stuff musically, and maybe like a more theatrical bumper video. Mm-hmm. But other than that, like, the same thing is like our sermon might be a little bit shorter to give space for everything else.
Yep.
And it's definitely like seeker aware. Like we know there's people who don't come to church very often, so we're not going to try to use a ton of like uber deep theological terms. So I felt like Lakeview like crushed it in the sense that like the worship was great, the services felt great, the hospitality. I mean, your hospitality team was like super on it, and they did a great job. So
we had some donuts, we had some coffee, and then hopefully just a lot of smiling faces.
Must be nice to have had donuts, Tim. I stopped at 5:40 in the morning.
Yeah.
At Dunkin' Donuts because Jamie, who was doing worship at the sunrise service, I told him I would bring him a donut. Tim, there was an accident.
Oh no! Oh no!
The Dunkin' Donut delivery truck.
This
First
is
of all,
tragic.
the time to make the donuts, it's a lie. They have their donuts delivered every morning.
What?
The Dunkin' Donuts delivery truck that does all of the donuts on 19 from like East Bay to Curlew, that whole region of Dunkin' Donuts, their delivery truck got in an accident Sunday morning, and none of the Dunkins had donuts.
Wow.
So I had to bring Jamie a muffin.
Oof.
It was still a great day, but he had to eat a muffin instead of a donut.
And this is an ad for Krispy Kreme, who makes their donuts in-house.
In-house. Wow. In-house.
That feels
Your
tragic.
delivery truck can't get in an accident if you're making your donuts in-house.
CJ, I like this. He says, we normally dismiss our kids to kids' church after communion. Yesterday, we sent them straight to kids' church before. We had a kid getting baptized at the end of service, so we brought them in at the end of worship for that. We have done this. It was cool to see the floor at the altar full of pre-K to fifth graders watching their friend get baptized. We did this at our last baptism service because we had a kid get baptized. So there is a way to safely do this. We actually alerted the safety team, and it was the safety team who did the escorting of the kids back and forth to and from their areas.
I just think it's good for kids to experience worship with the adult congregation.
Totally agree. Absolutely.
It's the way that you make it so that it's not, well, this is mom and dad's church. This is our church.
Right.
And
I mean, we, for the most part at Lakeview, parents have the option. We have a lot, Frank, you can attest to this. We have a lot of kids in church, including toddlers, pre-K, babies, and we're fine with that. We have several first, second, and third graders who prefer coming to the main service, and that's totally cool with us.
I think as the pastor of the church, you want to make sure, and I get it, that there are specific roles for life stages or whatever it may be
Sure.
at different churches, but I don't ever want a kid, whether that's elementary, middle, high school, to be like, well, this is my parents' pastor, my pastor's the youth pastor, my pastor is whoever else.
And I did attend a church where the pastor got it before he preached, and he said, hey, if you haven't checked in your kids, now's your chance to leave and go check them in now. And then he said, sir, I'm talking to you. Because they were holding their baby. And I about fell out of my chair.
Ooh.
I was like, he's like, yeah, we actually don't allow kids in service here. Like from the stage. I'm like, that's a thing?
I was in a service where the
How
lead
was that? I'm like, I was just so baffled by that.
there was a baby crying, and the lead pastor said something like, by the way, we have a crying mother's room and stuff like that.
What?
And I was like, cringe. I can't handle it.
No.
I mean,
That's crazy to me.
I think you have to create a culture where you say stuff like, babies and little kids making noises in the sanctuary is a good sign of health.
Growing church.
Yeah.
We want that.
Speaking of growing, Tim, we had some plants. You and I were texting some about the backdrop or foreground. I don't know what you would call it. I guess
Your stage setup on Easter side, especially your live stream, just looked so pretty.
we were.
Why was that? Was it
well,
just because the plants?
So we had
It looks great.
palm fronds, or palms that you can kind of see behind us a little bit in the shot here, that were on stage from Palm Sunday, and Shirley had them kind of under the TVs, which you can't see in our live stream. And I said, hey, and then we do hydrangeas on Easter, not lilies because of some allergies. And I said, why don't we pull them all kind of towards the middle so that they'll be in the shot more, so that the people outside can see or whatever.
Yeah.
And it was so funny because by the time it was my turn to preach, I have my stool and my round table, and I was like, oh, I am welcome to the jungle, because I was very much nestled in amongst all of the Easter plants we had.
It's so pretty.
And you said, I think the plants on stage are making a comeback.
Plants are making a huge comeback. Like that's a known thing. Like we're millennials. We used to cringe at plants on stage because that's what our parents did. Gen Z are now putting the plants back on the stage, which is just cracking me up.
I think it's the ficus, the silk plants on stage, hopefully is dead for forever.
I don't know. Who knows?
There's nothing I hate more than a fake plant.
Gen Z gets a little weird.
But they also are the ones that have like the weird ivy walls. So maybe they like fake plants.
I mean, there's a Brady Shear article all about this. About how
missed that one.
I thought this is why you're even talking about it. On Instagram, he talked about an article about how Gen Z, I think it's about Gen Z, about them loving plants on stage, and he even says in the video, like,
huge comeback.
He says this goes against my own desires for church design, stage design, but plants are becoming. And he gives like 2 examples, I think, of churches that have plants on stage, and like one looks like a whole I don't know, a garden. Like it's crazy. I don't know. It's strange.
It's wild. Frank, tell us a little bit about Cross and Crown Church. You made a giant post last week. It's official. It's happening. So
the name is revealed.
The name has been revealed. There's a beautiful logo that I want a hat. I want a shirt. Like when is the merch coming? I'm assuming this is all happening soon.
We should call it church merch.
Frank, give us a little sneak peek. No. What's going on?
Yeah. So I mean, everyone knows I'm in Florida. I'm planting a church, all the good stuff. But after I did Church Planting 101 with Converge, I took very seriously, it was before that, I took very seriously trying to figure out the name of the church. I did a survey with both Christians and non-Christians with different names, and overwhelmingly, Christians and non-Christians loved the name Cross and Crown Church, which was great because that's a name I chose and I liked it too.
We liked it.
Yeah. And so the next step was to come up with a logo. Very quickly, I realized that I can't come up with a logo just with a premium Canva account. So
I'm thankful you didn't
Premium
do that.
Canva is good at a lot of things.
yeah.
But when it comes to the future branding of your church,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
might want to get a pro.
So actually, this is a good tip. If you're in ministry, this is a tip I want you to know about. The president of Converge Mid-America told me about this. There's a website called Upwork.
I love Upwork.
Upwork. So it's like you know how VRBO versus Airbnb. Airbnb is like you might sleep in a sleeping bag in someone's backyard. VRBO is like a nice condo type of thing. That's the difference between like Fiverr and Upwork. Upwork is like the more premium freelancer, higher freelancer thing.
Yeah.
And my buddy Danny said, hey, go to Fiverr.
Don't go to Fiverr.
Go to Upwork.
Yes.
And what's great about Upwork is like you can get people from all over the world bid on trying to do the project you want to do.
Sure.
And so there's like he was actually really encouraging me to get Eastern Europeans because they speak English, they get American sensibilities, and they're much more affordable than Americans. All that to say is I had about 5 people that I really liked their designs. I picked a person who's actually in Chicago. I didn't
Nice.
pick any Europeans.
Nice.
You
haven't sent us the brand guide yet.
Oh yeah, I have it. I didn't send it to you. But for not a lot of money, I was able to get a brand guide. I was able to get a bunch of design assets, and yeah, Cross and Crown Church is live on Instagram and Facebook. The name
Cross
is
and Crown FL.
Yep, at Cross and Crown FL.
Crown. Give them a like. Give them a follow. It's
Yeah.
coming fall of 26.
Yeah, fall of
It's gonna be
26.
here so soon.
I'm happy and I'm sad.
You know what's funny is Good Friday and Sunday morning Easter. Multiple people came up to me and like, "Oh wow! Like I saw your post. I'm already sad. You're leaving us so
It's
soon."
like we all knew.
And I'm like,
but we're sad.
I have several months.
You do.
I'm still going to be here. And then even in the new year, before we launch, I still have, multiple times I'm probably going to be preaching and things like
Frank,
that.
I think it just speaks well of how quickly you fit into the culture of Lakeview.
Yeah,
like our
that's sweet.
people like just absorbed you and Corey instantly.
I think it is a really good opportunity, Tim, for you to be like, hey, as a church that hired a church planter.
Yeah.
But like, yes, Frank, you are beloved, and again, the conversations that Tim and I have are regularly like, man, Frank is killing it. This is going to be great.
Good to see you, Jimmy.
But just to be able to say, no, we hired him not just to come in and do things here and make our church better, but we hired him so that we could kind of duplicate as a church and we could plant elsewhere. So that means that we're going to lose some people. We're going to lose Frank. We're going to I think there's a really good opportunity to show what Lakeview values in how I don't want to say transition, because you were hired as the church
There was
planter,
no secret,
but
like,
it's
even
it's
before
a
we
weird
hired
thing to be like, hey, I'm here,
Right.
I work here, kinda.
Yeah.
even before we hired you, Frank, like we told the congregation this was coming. And I think a lot of people were like, okay, we'll see. And then we actually did it and now it's happening. So Frank and I had this great conversation this morning at Starbucks where I think it'll be fun to like live in this tension where it's like, yes, you are being sent out. Yes, you're still part of Lakeview right now, but our people need to understand that this was the point. Like
But
this was the goal all
It's
along.
so different from so much of the church growth movement and
Sure.
the era that we're living in,
Sure.
where most churches are, hey, how do we get a second location?
Yeah.
How do we do a video venue? Can we hire another worship leader? And are we streaming? Are we doing the thing where we drive the portable hard drive?
Jimmy
with
says,
the
we love
early
Frank.
service?"
Tim's okay.
I think it is a really cool season that Lakeview gets to say, here is how we are going to plant.
Yeah.
I think,
And I think we'll learn a bunch. We'll make some mistakes, but like we want to be super transparent through the whole process of like, we're learning through this.
Yeah.
We want to do this more than once. Unfortunately, Frank's going to be kind of the guinea pig here, and he'll be able to then come back and say, hey, what Frank and I will probably end up doing through Converge is do a little bit of a playbook where we can say, hey, at Lakeview, this is what worked really well for us. Here's some areas where we wish we had done a little bit better, and then see how this thing goes, not only this time, but the next 2, 3, 4 times around. And then Frank, one day this
That's
will
a
be
lot of
what
times around.
you'll be doing, right? Like,
Yeah, exactly.
Eventually, Frank also has the desire to be a multiplying, church planting church. That's kind of the whole goal. We converge.
Right now, so much of the social media and the website of the new church is not necessarily for Lakeview members, but it's for people who are in Tampa who are going to discover that there's a new church that's coming up for them. And so even the language I'm using sounds a little confusing. Tim and I were talking about this, how in the video I made, the most recent video, I say, hey, my name is Frank. I'm the pastor of Cross and Crown Church. And that could be confusing. You're like, but I thought he was the pastor at Lakeview. Like, what is that? What's going on here?
Yeah.
And it's like, if I say church planter, that means nothing to a non-Christian living in Tampa. It's like, what's a church planter? Is it the person that buys the fake plants for the stage
That is the church
at Safety
planter.
Harbor? Like, that's a church
He gets
planter.
in the plant.
No. We have real plants on stage at Safety Harbor. Tim, we had Tim and Frank. We had two blue and
Wait,
two pink
hang on.
hydrangeas.
Andrew, I think I can help you here. Here we go.
Hey.
Look at that. Look at that.
Look at that.
Andrew looks good. Even the picture in picture's clean. The plants are pretty.
I'll have you know that I made that Easter graphic at about 10:30 p.m. on Saturday night.
Andrew,
on
you
my
have
phone.
access to my Igniter
Well,
account.
don't admit this out loud.
I didn't know. What Igniter account? I've had access to all of your other accounts. I didn't know that there's an Igniter account.
You know what's great about that picture,
We'll
though?
talk after.
The
We'll talk.
iPad's in a very flattering position, sitting in front of you. It's good. It's good.
I think it looks
Where's
great.
the iPad?
No, I'm
It
saying
is.
it's in a good
I-
place.
I
That's where my
would-
iPad is every week.
Hang on.
Sitting is not a good thing. Like
The
like,
music stand, I would move that music stand. I like the guitar.
this is critique hour of
saying?
your live feed.
Well, I'm just saying, like, your worship teams, our worship team does this. They actually
Yeah.
move their stuff so that way the shot has a clean look.
And you
to
know
it.
what else is good? You have good people sitting in the scope of it. At Lakeview, sometimes there's people who sit in the position of the stream,
And it's
like,
a bit of an awkward spot.
yeah. If the guy who's 6'8" in the front row,
If they
that's a
raise their
problem.
hands and it's on the camera, it looks
the
odd.
biggest, the tallest guy at our church yesterday.
Wait, CJ, did I miss
Oh
this?
yes.
CJ said
On Easter, Andrew, how dare
did
you?
I do?
Your microphone
you
placement.
actually have a
I
jacket.
had the jacket. It was in my jacket pocket.
No, what are
It's
you
hanging
talking
out.
about?
We can
Yeah,
see
the
it.
wire
The
is still
cord should
there.
be here. Jacket goes
Andrew,
over. This is the easiest
on
thing ever.
Easter Sunday? What is going
CJ,
on?
thank you for pointing this out.
CJ. Oh,
I hate you.
on
all.
that note,
CJ, you're dead to me.
Larson. Hey, the plants looked good though.
That's all that matters.
We're gonna sandwich this, Frank. It's gonna be
That's
a little
all
critique.
that matters.
yeah. Nice colors.
It's Easter. We're getting loopy. Anybody else getting a little bit hungry?
I'm so hungry.
You're so hungry.
I didn't have protein between sermons yesterday.
We're having a breakout at our next Practically Pastoring Conference. It's just going to be titled Mic Placement. That's it.
Nice.
Like, it's going to be our entire breakout. Hey, we've got work to do at some point, I guess. Really, we just need to recover. You need to recover.
I'm good. I've got my next 2.5-ish sermons 80% done.
I am proud of you.
I'm good to go
Sunday's always coming.
every single time.
And there's always a morning after.
And there is always a morning after. We miss you already. We'll be back here. I will not.
Well,
I already told you this.
where are you going to be?
If you want to pipe me in live
I'm gonna miss you.
at this time next week, when we start the show, we will be walking into. Can I just tell them? Andy?
Oh, that's right.
We'll
right.
be walking into Epic
That's
Universe.
right.
We surprised the kids on Easter weekend.
Do the kids know?
They now know.
Oh, I was gonna say.
I didn't even tell you. We'll end with a story. We sat the kids down, and I was like, "Hey guys, it's Easter week. We wanted to do something, as a family spiritually." So I handed them envelopes, and I said, "Inside is a Bible verse, and we're going to go through this as a family." And they're all looking at me like, "Dad, why are we doing like this? Is weird." And I said, "So you guys just open your envelopes one at a time, and I want you all to read your Bible verses." And they opened the envelope, and inside the envelope was not a Bible verse. It was actually a ticket with their name on it to Epic Universe Preview Week, and. Let's just say there were actual tears for several minutes because they were just like that excited. So it was a fun dad moment for me. So I won't be here. These guys will be here. We miss you already though. Andy,
Bye, y'all. See you next week.
Bye.
party.
Because I ain't no quitter.